You ever wake up one morning and feel like the world is spinning, but you're standing still? Like everything around you is moving forward, people laughing, cars honing, life happening, but inside it's just quiet. Not peaceful quiet. The kind of quiet that echoes. That lingers in your chest like a question mark that never gets answered. That's where I am right now. Not angry. Not sad. Just thingy. Like someone reached into me and pulled out a piece of who I thought I was. And now I'm walking around trying to figure out how to be me again without that piece. I didn't lose him. Not really. Because he wasn't mine to begin with. He was always half here, half somewhere else. Always showing up late. Not just physically but emotionally too. Like his heart had its own schedule, and sometimes it showed up for me and sometimes it didn't. But I stayed anyway. I stayed because when he did show up, even for a second, it felt like fireworks. Felt like I mattered. Like I was seen. And isn't that what we all want? To be chosen. To be loved not just with words but with presence. With effort. With consistency. But here's the thing about loving someone who doesn't know how to love you back. You start to forget yourself. You become so focused on making sure they see you, on making sure they stay, that you stop seeing yourself. You stop asking if this version of you, the one who bends, who apologizes for being too much or not enough, who waits up at night wondering why they haven't texted, is actually who you are. Or if you've just become a reflection of what they needed. I used to believe that love was supposed to feel hard. That if it came easy, it must not be real. So I clung to every moment where he looked at me like I was everything. Every time he said, "You're different," like that meant something. I built an entire identity around being the one person who could get through to him. Who could make him stay. But I realize now, I wasn't fighting for us. I was fighting to be seen by someone who kept turning away. It wasn't just one big betrayal or dramatic fight that ended things. It was 1,000 tiny moments where I asked myself, am I enough? And never got an answer. It was the silence between texts that grew longer and louder than any argument. It was realizing that my joy had started to depend on his approval, and that scared me more than losing him ever did. Because when you give pieces of yourself to someone who doesn't know how to hold them, eventually there's nothing left. And then you have to go find yourself again. Piece by piece. The worst part. I miss the chase. I miss the hope. I miss the feeling of thinking maybe today would be the day he finally showed up all the way. Maybe today he'd say, "I see you. I choose you." But I don't miss the exhaustion. I don't miss the guessing games. I don't miss the feeling of being invisible in a relationship that should have made me feel seen. I keep thinking about how long I tried to fill the space he left behind with more of me. More energy. More effort. More explanations. Like if I just gave enough, he'd finally understand how much I wanted him. How much I needed him to meet me halfway. But love shouldn't be a negotiation. It shouldn't feel like begging. And maybe that's the hardest truth to swallow. That sometimes no matter how much you love someone, it's not enough. Not because you weren't worthy of being loved, but because they weren't ready to give it. So here I am. On the other side of a love that didn't last. Still learning how to breathe without needing someone else's approval to feel whole. Still figuring out who I am outside of that story. And I'll tell you this. If you've ever been here too, if you've ever loved someone who couldn't fully love you back, you're not alone. You're not broken. You're not too much. You were just trying to be loved by someone who didn't know how to hold it. And that's not your fault. Sometimes letting go isn't about giving up. Sometimes it's about finally choosing yourself. Finally saying, "I deserve more than crumbs." And that silence, the one that feels so heavy after it ends. It's not emptiness. Space. Space for something new. Something real. Something that starts with you. And maybe that's where healing begins. In the silence, in the stillness, in the courage to walk away from a love that made you forget who you were, and step back into yourself one piece at a time.